Hi, welcome to Mr. Recap. After losing the most important thing in his life, a disgruntled policeman decides to fight impunity in the corrupt system in his country. Today, we will recap the story of the 2018 movie, The Awakener. In the city of Santa Cruz, a group of protesters unites to demand the arrest of Sandro Correa, a corrupt governor who has managed to get away with investigations. However, while hiding, the man is surprised by the arrival of a vigilante who is there to take revenge into his own hands. A few days earlier, while preparing his coffee, Sandro is visited by a group of agents from the Special Armed Division who search the entire house for evidence of the governor's embezzlement of healthcare funds. After finding some incriminating documents, the man is arrested by Miguel and Eduardo, two best friends who work together in the fight against crime. During an interrogation, Miguel loses patience with Sandro because he knows that the money he stole was taken from someone who was dying in the hospital. However, before the cops could get him to confess to the crime, his lawyer shows up, and the corrupt politician gets away with it. Miguel is divorced and has a daughter with his ex-wife. The girl is spending a few days at his house and is very proud of her father who works arresting bandits. Hours later, Isabella shows up to pick up her daughter, and Miguel arranges to take the girl to the stadium to watch the Brazilian team play next weekend on Saturday. After a tiring day at work, Miguel says goodbye to his friend and rushes to meet his daughter. Alice gets a Brazilian team t-shirt and takes a picture with her father. Then, she says goodbye to her mother and runs to the stadium because the game is about to begin. Miguel asks for a cab to get there faster, but minutes later, they end up stuck in a traffic jam. So, the policeman decides to get out of the vehicle with his daughter and walk to the place since it is not far away. Suddenly, a shootout breaks out, and Alice is hit in the chest by a stray bullet. Desperate, Miguel takes the girl in his arms and rushes her to the hospital. It doesn't take long before they are attended to, and Alice is taken on a stretcher to the waiting room. There are dozens of people in serious condition to be attended to before the younger girl, and Miguel feels helpless as he sees his daughter dying right in front of him, unable to do anything to save her. Hours later, Isabella shows up at the hospital and is desperate to discover the truth. The woman begins to freak out when she realizes that little Alice will never return home. Shortly after this disaster, Sandro is released and cleared of his charges. Miguel is still trying to find out who fired the shot that eliminated his daughter, but Eduardo claims it is impossible to discover the origin of the projectile. While venting his frustration to his friend, Miguel says that what took Alice's life was not the stray bullet, but the government's neglect of health care since she never even received medical attention. The young girl bled to death, all because the hospital did not have enough infrastructure to take care of all the patients. After this great loss, Miguel decided to step away from his position in the police until he recovers. One of his main activities during this period is to run through the streets of the city while revisiting the sweet memories of the good times he had with his beloved daughter. One night after getting out of prison, Sandro goes to give a public interview to clarify the whole situation and says he has nothing to hide. According to the governor, public health has always been one of his priorities, and he would never withdraw a cent of the money destined for this purpose. During his speech, the crowd gathers outside to demand the arrest of Sandro, who now has plans to be elected as the new president of the republic. When Miguel tries to approach the site, he is stopped by the guards who begin to assault him, generating great anger among the rioters. At that moment, the whole group gathers to attack the policeman and invade the facility. Nina is one of the activists and records all the confusion in which Miguel is involved when he loses control of the demonstrators. The police attack them with gas bombs, and Miguel uses a mask to be able to breathe amidst all the smoke. Furious, the man gets up and begins to attack the security guards with all his fury, using his own weapons against them. After taking down several police officers, he steals one of their guns and breaks into the governor's office. Then, without saying a word, he throws dozens of punches in Sandro's face, who ends up being knocked out. Days later, the police tried to discover the identity of the assailant who eliminated the governor, but the security camera footage offers no information that really helps the investigation. After several days, some protesters were identified and arrested. Now they will be interrogated in order to find out who it was that participated in the plan to eliminate Sandro. Nina is among the prisoners and is surprised to see Miguel at the police station, for she soon recognizes him. It is the policeman's first day on the job after losing his daughter, and he also recognizes Nina. After looking at her in the interrogation room, the young woman claims to have a video on her cell phone that proves Miguel's involvement in the crime scene and advises the officer to catch him. Meanwhile, the men who were part of the party in which Sandro was seeking election are getting together to discuss who their next candidate will be. After analyzing the criminal records of each of those present, Antero Gomez suggests placing his son in this position since he has no police record. Days later, Antero Jr. begins preparing for his candidacy and proves to be terrible at recording election campaigns. After proving that the video Nina refers to is true, Miguel decides to release her before he is discovered. 7 hours later, Nina arrives at the establishment where she works and tells them that she spent the night at the police station. Her boss, however, does not believe this lame excuse and asks the young woman to be responsible for locking up the store when he leaves, since he has been alone there all day. That night, Miguel receives a visit from Isabella but decides not to attend to her because he can no longer bear to face the woman after what has happened. While walking back home, Nina is surprised by the policeman who asks her to get into the car. Even though she is suspicious, she decides to accompany him. The young woman is a great hacker, and Miguel enlists her help to search the late governor's computer. After a few hours of work, Nina manages to find the list of people involved in the corruption scheme, and Miguel decides to get rid of them all one by one. In addition to weapons and ammunition, the policeman carries a gas mask for his mission, for this symbol has already become his trademark. Without anyone seeing him, he eliminates every single man who is involved in the corruption scheme. Even the mayor of the city could not escape the Punisher's trial and was thrown out of the 4th-floor window of City Hall. One of the criminals is smiling as he counts his money with the aid of a machine. At that moment, Miguel approaches him from behind and shoots him in the head. In the headlines, the masked policeman has become known as the Awakener, and his skills are such that he can hit a shot from dozens of meters away. When Miguel returns to the police station, he and his colleagues hear a lecture from the prosecutor because Sequeira does not understand how a single man can bypass all the police officers in the city. That night, the agent goes to the store where Nina works and asks for the young woman's help once again. The hacker says that although she knows Miguel has been through terrible things, that doesn't justify what he is doing. Nina does not agree with the way Miguel has chosen to fight crime, but the policeman manages to convince her to continue working with him. The next day, the young woman goes to visit her mother in prison and asks her to hold on a little longer because she will soon be free. When night comes, the girl hands Miguel a communicator and shows him the building where Minister Marta Regina and a mysterious guest will soon meet. As soon as the policeman enters the premises via the service elevator, Nina will disable the security cameras. Meanwhile, Eduardo is at the police station studying the Doctrinator's tactics and comes to the conclusion that the vigilante may be someone from the police. In addition, he has a hunch that his next target will be. Following his partner's directions, Miguel enters the building and soon discovers that Antero Gomez is the minister's guest. The Awakener then follows Nina's orders not to be caught and intends to accompany the minister to the bar. Meanwhile, Eduardo arrives at the building and sends a message to Miguel warning that the Awakener's next target will be Marta. Seeing the car parked in front of the building, Nina tries to warn her friend. But communication between the two begins to fail, and Miguel is surprised by Eduardo, who starts chasing him with a gun pointed in his direction. During the escape, the vigilante is shot, but Eduardo gives up pursuing him when he realizes that his adversary is much faster. After leaving her position, Nina goes out to look for Miguel and finds the man wounded with a bullet through his shoulder. His injury is serious, and she tries to convince the policeman to go to the hospital. But he knows he will be arrested if he does so. Therefore, he relies on the young woman's help to treat his injury. Even after being almost killed by his friend, Miguel remains obsessed with his mission, but Nina manages to convince him to take some time off. The next morning, Sequeira receives a call from Oliveira. The man wants to know how the masked man managed to break into the building without being seen and finds out that he has a partner since all the security cameras have been hacked. Miguel and Eduardo are putting together a team to investigate the suspects and find out who the vigilante is. But the police chief shows up and informs them that the case has been dropped for lack of evidence. Later, while they are practicing target practice, Miguel expresses his opinion about the job of a policeman. He says that his job is to eliminate the bad guys. Eduardo disagrees with this statement and says that a policeman's job is to protect the citizens. From this episode on, the agent begins to distrust his friend. That night, the Awakener has only one mission, to eliminate Antero Gomez. At that moment, the man is at his house attending an important dinner with his son and other influential politicians. Together, they begin to set up a plan for Antero Jr. to assume power. However, the man does not feel comfortable in this position, for he knows that he is not prepared to become president. Frightened by such responsibility, the man leaves the table, and his wife goes after him. The woman tries to reassure him, but his father appears next and tries to convince the man that winning that candidacy is the best option. Antero asks for forgiveness for always being so hard on his son and says he is happy to spend more time with him in recent weeks. Meanwhile, Miguel is a few miles away preparing to shoot his target. When Antero is in his sights, the vigilante shoots but accidentally hits his son. Seeing the man eliminated right in front of him, the politician despairs and hugs him as he cries out for help. At that moment, Miguel realizes what a big mistake he has made. In the news, the widespread information is that Antero Filio died of respiratory arrest while swimming in the pool at his residence. However, Antero intends to use this moment of great awareness to convince people that he is the best option to take over from his son and run for the presidency. The man has left Oliveira, his agent, in charge of finding out who the hacker is that is helping the Awakener, and he has just received the address of this person. Since most of Nina's activities were in the store, Leon, her boss, was mistaken for the hacker, and Oliveira goes to the establishment to get rid of the poor guy. When she arrives at her workplace, Nina sees her boss already lifeless and goes into despair. She knows that she has accidentally caused an innocent person to lose their life and could be the next to suffer that same fate. Terrified, she runs through the streets towards Miguel's house. At this point, Eduardo goes to Isabella's house to investigate the sudden disappearance of his friend and discovers that the woman also does not know the whereabouts of her ex-husband. When she finds the vigilante, Nina hugs him, in tears, and tells him what she found when she arrived at the store. What neither of them imagined is that the identity of the Awakener has also been discovered, and some men go there with the aim of eliminating him. Suddenly, a gunfight breaks out, and Miguel's first reaction is to try to protect Nina. The man hides behind a refrigerator while asking his friend to run away. But the girl is almost shot. When the shooting ceases, Miguel takes the opportunity to put on his mask and grab his weapons for the fight. With only a few bullets, he manages to destroy two enemies at once, but is soon surprised by the arrival of a new invader. The vigilante then hides while waiting for his opponent to approach. Since he is out of ammunition, Miguel is forced to bet on a hand-to-hand duel. After knocking down his enemy, he runs to get his gun and hits the man right in the forehead. At this point, Oliveira began to worry about the disappearance of his colleagues and decided to break into the place alone. Just then, he comes across Nina trying to escape and decides to capture her. It doesn't take long before the man meets the Awakener coming down the stairs and surprises his enemy with a demand. Instead of trying to arrest him, Oliveira orders Miguel to eliminate Antero's competitor during the debate that will take place the following night. Otherwise, Nina will be eliminated. Aided later, when the agents of the Special Armed Division arrive at the Awakener's hideout, Eduardo finds a device that he knows belongs to Miguel, and it dawns on him that his friend is the wanted vigilante. His first reaction is to call Isabella for a talk and tell her his theory about Miguel's disappearance. Election day is approaching, and the dispute between Antero Gomez and his main rival, Julia Machado, is very close. The first round of the presidential debate begins, and to prevent his friend from being eliminated, Miguel decides to go there. He knocks out one of his police colleagues and climbs the stairs to get to the studio where the debate is being broadcast live to the entire country. Meanwhile, Nina is trapped in a hiding place together with Oliveira, watching the entire debate. Noticing his co-worker's silence, Eduardo soon realizes that something is wrong and runs up the stairs to look for him. The Awakener was about to fire when he is caught by a surprise attack from Eduardo, who managed to stop him from firing before anyone gets hurt. The duo then starts a duel, and Eduardo ends up being knocked down with a gun pointed at his head. The policeman asks Miguel to remove his mask since he already knows that it is he who is in there. So, the Awakener answers his friend's request and tries to justify his attitudes by saying that he needed to eliminate those people because their corruption was causing the death of many people. However, with Eduardo's help, Miguel realizes that he is being no different from those people he says he despises. But he needs to accomplish this last mission so that Nina will not be punished. When the Awakener shoots, the host orders them to take the debate off the air, and Oliveira calls his boss's agents to find out what happened. Nina then attacks him with a shard of glass and pierces his abdomen. Furious, the man runs to get his gun, but the young woman manages to use it against him, and Oliveira is eliminated. The girl quickly runs away scared, and meanwhile, Miguel is escorted to the police station where he is regarded with contempt by his colleagues. With Eduardo's help, Isabella gets permission to talk to her ex-husband in prison. She asks him why he did all that. The woman states that Alice would never approve of her father's attitudes and leaves bitterly as she feels very disappointed in Miguel. The candidate Julia was not hit during the vigilante's attack, but the fact that she became a target of his caused the population to question whether the woman is also corrupt, just like all the previous victims of the Awakener. This mistrust caused her popularity to decline, and as a result, Antero became the new president of the Republic. During the entire time he is incarcerated, Miguel trains his body and prepares for a possible opportunity for revenge. After a few days in prison, the vigilante is taken to the interrogation room and brutally attacked by one of his coworkers, who hits him with punches and kicks to the head. Sakura then says that Miguel was right in believing that not all people should live. However, according to the police chief, he was fighting on the wrong side. In this instant, the ex-cop discovers that his boss is as corrupt as the politicians he eliminated, because he is receiving a lot of money from the current president to support his mandate. Before leaving, Sakura orders his agent to eliminate Miguel. But before doing so, the man shoots the policeman in the room, saying that he needed to eliminate the Awakener in self-defense. However, before he is shot, Miguel attacks his enemy and manages to disarm him. He then uses his handcuffs to choke the man and finish him off for good. His mission now is to finish what he started and eliminate the current president before he continues to bring harm to the population. After filling a suitcase with various operating equipment, Miguel steals a car and drives to the National Congress. Minutes later, Eduardo enters the interrogation room and is startled to see two lifeless agents inside. Immediately, he realizes that his old friend is going after Antero. The Awakener then puts on his costume and storms into the building. After eliminating the guards, the ex-cop walks towards the president's office while reaching for his revolver. Antero orders his secretary to lock the door. But the man ends up being eliminated before he can take any action. As soon as Miguel enters the room, he is hit by numerous bullets. But he remains standing and walks toward his target with determination. Antero then tries to distract him while reloading his gun. But the Awakener blows his head off before the old man could attack him again. Just then, several security guards enter the room, and Miguel is completely surrounded. There is no way out of the situation alive, so he makes an extreme decision. The vigilante takes a remote control and triggers the bombs inside his car since he will not be able to survive. Miguel intends to fulfill his mission of taking as many corrupt politicians along with him as possible. When Eduardo is about to arrive at the National Congress, he realizes that it is already too late because everyone in the building has been destroyed by the explosion. Miguel believed that the country could never evolve as long as dishonest politicians were in power. But what he forgot is that the leaders of a nation are nothing more than a reflection of its society. What did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, please like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.